38. The laws of possession. One of the most remarkable facts about the law goes unnoticed because we read history backwards. The Hebrews who first heard Moses pronounce the Ten Commandments were, only a few weeks before, a slave people. They required supernatural deliverance to free them from Egypt's power and supernatural power to sustain them for decades thereafter. Their first Sabbath had been celebrated as the Passover, as a slave people soon to abandon homes and land, and their possessions now at Sinai were limited and meagre. Notice, however, how the law assumes their wealthy estate. 6 days shalt thou labour and do all thy work. But the 7th day is the Sabbath of the Lord thy God. In it thou shalt not do any work, thou, nor thy son, nor thy daughter, thy manservant, nor thy maidservant, nor thy cattle, nor thy stranger that is within thy gates. For in 6 days the Lord made heaven and earth, the sea, and all that is in them, and rested the 7th day. Wherefore the Lord blessed the Sabbath day and hallowed it. Thou shalt not covet thy neighbour's house. Thou shalt not covet thy neighbour's wife, nor his manservant, nor his maidservant, nor his ox, nor his ass, nor anything that is thy neighbour's. Exodus chapter 20, verses 9, 11, and 17. It can no doubt be said that the law so speaks because it covers all contingencies, but this is not a sufficient explanation. The law presupposes as a necessary consequence that an obedient people will be a strong, wealthy, and dominant people. This is the point of Deuteronomy 28 and many another part of Scripture, and it is the presupposition of all of it. The Puritans recognized this fact and acted on it. In 1643, in New England's First Fruits, it was plainly affirmed, "Now, where sin is punished and judgment executed, God is wont to bless that place and protect it." Psalm 106, verse 30, Jeremiah chapter 5, verse 1, Joshua chapter 7, verse 25, with chapter 8, verse 1, e contra, Isaiah chapter 20, verse 21. Deuteronomy chapter 8, verse 18 speaks more plainly. "But thou shalt remember the Lord thy God, for it is he that giveth thee power to get wealth, that he may establish his covenant which he sware unto thy fathers, as it is this day." God gives power to get wealth in order to establish his covenant, in order to further man's dominion over the earth in terms of God's law. Obedience to the covenant law gives wealth, and wealth in turn furthers the establishment of the covenant law, order, and peace. The goal is the government of the world by the covenant people. As St. Paul reminds the Corinthians, "Do ye not know that the saints shall judge or govern the world?" 1 Corinthians chapter 6, verse 2. There is an essential relationship between this promise of dominion and wealth and the Sabbath, and it is not accidental that it is first of all in the Sabbath law that a slave people was told that they would have great possessions. It is basic to the understanding of the Sabbath to see this relationship. Scholars such as Hill have pointed out that the Puritan Sabbath had 2 essential functions. It gave an opportunity for rest from labour and for education or instruction. The Puritan Sabbath also meant the protection of the working man from the exploitation of unceasing work. These things are important products of the Sabbath. Its meanings lie elsewhere. The Sabbath requires us to rest in the Lord. because it is He who has redeemed us, and it is He who gives us power to get wealth. Psalm 127 verse 2 states it thus: It is vain for you to rise up early, to sit up late, to eat the bread of sorrows, for so He giveth His beloved sleep. Moffat's rendering of the last clause clarifies the point. God's gifts come to His loved ones as they sleep. The results of covenant faithfulness and work are greater than the sum total of labour. Solomon expresses the fullness of this blessing thus: The blessing of the Lord, it maketh rich, and He addeth no sorrow with it. Proverbs chapter 10, verse 22. The Sabbath rest is thus far more than the do-nothing observances of modern Sabbatarians. Their failure to recognize what God means and does with the Sabbath is almost blasphemous. The true Sabbath means that, because the universe is God's creation and all its laws are totally His, He acts therein in such a way that the sum is always greater than its parts for His covenant people and less for covenant breakers. This is very clearly and plainly set forth in the law of the Sabbath of the land. And if ye shall say, What shall we eat the 7th year? Behold, we shall not sow, neither gather in our increase. Then I will command my blessing upon you in the 6th year, and it shall bring forth fruit for 3 years. Leviticus chapter 25, verses 20 and 21. No naturalistic explanation of this is possible. It is true, as farmers in various parts of the United States have verified, that land allowed to lie fallow for a year is far more productive in the years following, far more so than the use of fertilizers would have made it. Rest revitalizes the soil as well as man, but the law declares that where men have by faith kept God's law, then God, in advance of their next land Sabbath, gives them a 3 years harvest in one. Clearly, the sum is greater than its parts. This is true of all man's history, and hence modern historiography is profoundly and radically in error in its insistence that history is only and exclusively the sum total of its parts. This is the denial of biblical history, of course. In recent years, because the historian Egon Friedel gave mild expression to such a faith in the transcendental aspects of history, he has been despised, called a romantic, and his readers damned as uncritical and unscholarly. The fact remains, however, that the Sabbath is in effect denied if Leviticus chapter 25, verses 20 and 21 is denied or avoided. The first Sabbath law told ex-slaves that they would be lords of estates through faith and obedience. Possessions are an aspect of our covenantal inheritance. We rest on the Sabbath in order to be instructed by the Lord and to be taught that our results in Him are far greater than the sum total of our labours and our planning. The Sabbath rest is thus the confident rest of heirs who know that their calling and inheritance in the Lord are assured and certain. They know that mankind's history and their own personal history can never be reduced to what man alone does without a reduction to less than man's labours because of God's judgment. God speaks plainly of this through Micah. Are there yet the treasures of wickedness in the house of the wicked, and the scant measure that is abominable? Shall I count them pure with the wicked balances, and with the bag of deceitful weights? For the rich men thereof are full of violence, and the inhabitants thereof have spoken lies, and their tongue is deceitful in their mouth. Therefore also will I make thee sick in smiting thee, in making thee desolate because of thy sins. Thou shalt eat, but not be satisfied, and thy casting down shall be in the midst of thee. And thou shalt take hold, but shall not deliver, and that which thou deliverest will I give up to the sword. Thou shalt sow, but thou shalt not reap. Thou shalt tread the olives, but thou shalt not anoint thee with oil, and sweet wine, but shalt not drink wine. Micah chapter 6, verses 10 to 15. Again in Haggai we read, Now therefore, thus saith the Lord of hosts, consider your ways. Ye have sown much, and bring in little. Ye eat, but ye have not enough. Ye drink, but ye are not filled with drink. Ye clothe you, but there is none warm. And he that earneth wages to put into a bag with holes. Haggai chapter 1, verses 5 and 6. Much, much more in the same vein can be cited from Scripture, but for the present, let us add one more verse. And he gave them their request, but sent leanness into their souls. Psalm 106, verse 15. The reduction of history to its parts is the denial of God and of history. Thus, the whole of the law is a law of possession. It is a means whereby man can subdue, possess, and exercise dominion over the earth. Obedience to these laws of possession presupposes faith. How else can a man approach Leviticus chapter 25, verses 20 and 21? How else can he believe that, in advance of the Sabbath of the land, God will bless his covenant-keeping man with a 3 years' harvest in one? It is thus an absurdity to separate faith and the law. Each is meaningless without the other. True obedience presupposes faith, and faith without works is dead. James chapter 2, verse 26.